Welcome to my short story. Written and read by Sonia Alper, with music by Gregory Alper from his CD, My Time. For more information, please visit my website, sonjas-shortstory.com. Two men were struggling. One apparently trying to help the other, either getting in or out of a car, parked at the curb. That was not quite clear because they gave the impression to be frozen in a helpless embrace. Surrounded by a busy street scene, traffic stopping and going, pedestrians waiting and crossing at the light, dogs sniffing trees on the sidewalks, and shoppers scanning through clothes hanging from racks outside fashionable boutiques, the two men appeared to be trapped in an alternate universe. Nobody saw them. A small class of kindergartners in light blue t-shirts, holding each other's hands, marched right by. Everything around this car was alive, even the clouds playing catch in the wind, under the watchful eyes of the sun, their plumy shadows dancing on the sidewalk, licking the street in rapid flares, like a million tongues, before climbing up the houses on the other side and finally disappearing into nothingness. For the men, time stood still. The one in the car, obviously old, was holding onto the dashboard with one hand and the frame with the other, as if fighting a hurricane threatening to blow him up into the sky. The younger man, outside, finally let go of him. He stepped back and kneeled down on the curb to face this curiosity inside the car. Somehow, I thought, he knew what it was going to be. In or out. As if on a secret command, like a dog appearing after the sounding of a whistle, audible only to him, the hands let go of dashboard and frame to flutter up in the air like two confused birds, each trapped in its very private whirlwind. And that's when it hit me. Hershel? Startled, as if woken up by a bite in his big toe, Bruce looked irritated, but his eyes followed the direction of my hand pointing out the window behind him. Without turning back, he blindly fished for his glasses on the table between the Caesar salad and bread basket. We were in our favorite restaurant, seated at one of the window tables overlooking Montana Avenue. Every Friday we'd come here. I loved to watch the ever-changing spectacle outside. The hustle and bustle had a European flair. People here were actually walking, something Los Angeles certainly is not known for. While I was daydreaming, Bruce generally focused on the food in front of him. And having been married for quite some time, we relaxed in a comfortable silence. Separated from the outside world by double-pane windows and delicately showered with soft jazz, this was our idea of a perfect lunch. "I can tell what the hell is going on out there," Bruce said after he turned back and took off his glasses. "Where's my steak, anyway? How come your fish always comes first, even though I ask for medium rare?" he kvetched. "My husband can get pretty crabby when he's hungry. There's no reasoning with him, and the best I can do is smile lovingly, nodding a few times, and keep on following my own train of thoughts. But this time I couldn't. "It is, look. He seems to have shrunken to half his size." The two men had managed to park themselves on the sidewalk now, the younger holding the other by the elbow. Nah, can't be. What do you think? Why don't you go and see if they need help? They don't look very stable. No waiter with his steak in sight, Bruce got up and out he went. I watched him walking towards them with outstretched arms and imagined a big smile of recognition on his face. The younger man looked utterly exhausted and greeted Bruce with a handshake. Hershel, it was Hershel, appeared not to be there at all, but not really anywhere else either. One couldn't imagine that just minutes ago this frail and feeble old man had put up such a fight. This is what's left of the proud, tall man I remember. I still see him. When was it? 3, 4 years ago. I met him at Bruce's studio. Standing at least 6 feet tall, slightly swaying back and forth, like the tip of a tower on a stormy day, he had zoomed in on his feet as if only now he realized that he had left his house in slippers. Slowly, his focus shifted to the saxophone around his neck, where the fingers fidgeted nervously with the keys. His eyes, now 2 strained slits, were concentrating on the black dots and lines on the white sheet of paper in front of him. He seemed to meditate on the upcoming attempt of playing the horn. And there it was. The sound that escaped and reached my unprepared ears was a cry not from this world. A shrill tremolo, nothing one would ever attribute to a saxophone, or anything else for that matter that wasn't in danger of dying, had reluctantly left the instrument and, after an attempt to escape through the ceiling, fallen to the floor, where it bounced off the thick rug and catapulted right back to where it had originated from. Here it provoked, as punishment perhaps, a hacking cough. That mercifully stopped a second assault. He paused and looked up, and for the first time his extraordinary blue eyes met mine, followed by a shy but incredibly winning smile. In the meanwhile, his tremolonium morphed into a nebula of cold cigar smoke. It dominated the air that was still fighting for sanity after the previous sound attack. The instant he let go of his keys, his hands took on a life of their own. They explored the air in front of him and above him, started to draw small circles and even smaller ones, followed by heavy shaking as if ridding themselves of an invisible layer of sticky powder. Trying to tame the unruly extensions by finally stuffing them into his coat pockets, he blushed and coughed again. "Hi, I'm Hershel," he grinned. Nodding towards his hands, which by now were successfully hidden in their pockets, like 2 puppies put back in the dog crate, he added, "It's the nerves." What a smile! And for a split second I saw the drop-dead guy he must have been once. Tall, dark, I assumed, and handsome, with piercing blue eyes that mesmerized and electrified any beating heart. This man certainly had been no stranger to making the female species tremble with longing. From now on, Hershel came every Wednesday afternoon for his lesson from 2 to 3. Always arriving exactly 15 minutes early, I could have set my clock. He talked to me about his life with Rivka, and before Rivka, his wife of 60 years. It had been almost 12 months since her passing, and shortly thereafter he had decided to take up saxophone lessons, something he'd always wanted to do, he said. The sound of a saxophone is like honey to the bees. Women just go nuts about it. Never mind his thin breath and shaky hands now. Most important for him was to get out of the house. He didn't want to give in to solitude or watching TV all day long. I'm a lonely man of 78, too young to retire to the couch. I smiled. 78? But who's counting? A month before Thanksgiving, I invited him over for the holiday, because his kids lived in another state and couldn't be with him. Or he didn't want to be with them. By shaking his head vehemently, I was afraid my invitation had unleashed another nervous tic. He underscored his answer with a firm no. He had plans. Coughing uncontrollably, a sign of his thick-headedness when he felt trapped or found out, as I had come to learn, he tried to reach into his pocket. That took a while, because his hand wanted to go someplace else. When he finally succeeded, out came a white handkerchief, which he carefully, very slowly, almost lovingly, unfolded to its full size, big enough to cover a coffee table. Hypnotized by that ritual, I followed every single step like staring at a tiny noodle that had attached itself to the chin of my date across the table, wondering how long it would take to fall off. Already picturing the reverse process, step by step, I felt uncomfortable. But I couldn't help it. I scolded myself because my attention intensified his nervousness even more. Finally, Hershel decided to ignore the ghostly presence, which by now was fancifully flying through the air like a peace offering, following the secret choreography of his hand. And then it came. I need a companion, a female companion, you know. Do you think I should place an ad in the Jewish Weekly? 2 weeks later, Hershel cancelled his lesson. Too many dates, lunch, dinner. They even want to meet for breakfast, he trumpeted into the phone. Giddy, like a teen before his first date. 27 women in their best years, lonely like himself, wanted to meet the handsome widower in his early 70s. He recited the ad to me twice. I wondered how he would get away with this little age adjustment. But it worked just fine. One only sees what one wants to see, I thought. Desperation builds on air. Sometimes one tumbles down back to the earth with a little bruise to the ego. Sometimes one gets a lift and flies high up towards the sun and nothing else matters. It's a thrill ride. In this case, it translated into a free meal. At a certain stage in life, food substitutes for many things. For one, it beats the loneliness for all involved.